Have you ever felt the soul-crushing exhaustion of giving everything you have, only to end up with nothing but burnout? You followed the rules. You climbed the ladder. You sacrificed sleep, relationships, and your own peace of mind for a goal that was supposed to bring you fulfillment. And yet, here you are, running on fumes, your mind a constant storm of anxiety and self-doubt, wondering why your monumental effort isn't producing the results you were promised. You feel like a ghost in your own life, haunted by the person you thought you'd be by now. The ambition that once felt like a fire in your belly now feels like acid, corroding you from the inside out. You look in the mirror and you don't recognize the person staring back. The eyes are tired. The shoulders are heavy. You're caught in a silent, grinding war with yourself, a war you don't even know how you entered, let alone how to win. You're told to hustle harder, to optimize more, to want more. But every step forward feels like a step deeper into a void. This isn't just fatigue. This is soul weariness. It's the profound, gut-wrenching realization that the path you're on is a dead end, and you've been sprinting towards it for years. You feel trapped by the very ambitions that were supposed to set you free. This is not a lecture about working less or finding a better work-life balance. This is an intervention. This is about a radical trade, a bargain. We are going to dismantle the fragile, hollow ambition that has been sold to you, the one that leads directly to this state of inner collapse. And in its place, we are going to forge something else entirely, something indestructible. We are going to explore the process of trading that brittle ambition for an unbreakable mind. This is your guide to stepping off the hamster wheel of modern achievement and building an inner citadel, a fortress within yourself that no external chaos, no failure, no criticism, and no amount of pressure can ever breach. This is the path to becoming truly unrecognizable, not just in your habits, but in your very essence, calm, powerful, and free. The first, most crucial truth you must accept is this: the game is rigged. The modern definition of ambition is a trap. It is a system designed to keep you perpetually dissatisfied, perpetually chasing the next thing, the next milestone, the next hit of validation. It's a ghost you can never catch. True power, the kind of strength that makes a person formidable, doesn't come from winning this rigged game. It comes from having the wisdom and the courage to stop playing it altogether. The first step to building an unbreakable mind is to consciously withdraw your energy from the frantic, external race and redirect it inward. This isn't about giving up. It's about changing the battlefield. You stop fighting for scraps of approval in the outside world and start conquering the vast, untamed territory of your own mind. This is the beginning of the bargain. You let go of the illusion of external control to seize absolute internal control. Let's dissect this toxic ambition that has become our culture's religion. It is an ambition defined by externals. It is measured in job titles, bank accounts, social media followers, and the envy of others. It is fueled by comparison and fear, the fear of being left behind, the fear of being seen as average, the fear of not being enough. This ambition is a hungry ghost. It is never satisfied. You get the promotion, and for a day, you feel a flicker of relief. But then the ghost whispers, "What's next?" Your colleague is already aiming for vice president. You hit your financial goal, and the ghost says, "It's not enough. Look at what he has." This ambition is not a driving force. It is a master, and you are its slave. It forces you to live in a perpetual future that never arrives, or a past filled with regrets, robbing you of the only thing that is real, the present moment. Burnout is the inevitable consequence of serving this master. It is your soul's cry for revolution. It is your mind and body screaming that they can no longer sustain a life built on a foundation of not enough. The anxiety, the overthinking, the insomnia, these are not character flaws. They are symptoms of a deep misalignment. You are trying to find inner peace by winning an outer war. It's an impossible equation. The bargain we are here to make is to consciously abandon this model. It's a declaration of independence from the tyranny of other people's expectations and the relentless noise of a sick culture. The foundation of an unbreakable mind is a Stoic principle, one so simple and yet so profound it can single-handedly change the entire landscape of your life. It is the dichotomy of control. The ancient Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught that some things are up to us and some things are not up to us. What is up to us? Our judgments, our impulses, our desires, our aversions, in a word, our own actions and our inner world. What is not up to us? Our body, our property, our reputation, our station in life. In a word, everything that is not our own action, everything external. This is not a philosophy of passivity. It is the ultimate strategic framework for a warrior. A warrior who wastes energy trying to control the weather on the battlefield is a fool. A warrior who wastes time lamenting the strength of his enemy is already defeated. A wise warrior focuses with fanatical intensity on the only things he can control: his training, his discipline, his mindset, his response to the chaos around him. Your life is that battlefield. Your reputation is not fully in your control. A rumor can destroy it. The economy is not in your control. A downturn can wipe out your finances. The opinions of others are certainly not in your control. Their views are a product of their own life, their own biases, their own pain. To tether your sense of self-worth and peace to these uncontrollables is to build your house on sand, waiting for the tide to come in. The unbreakable mind is built on the rock of the controllable. It consciously, deliberately, and consistently shifts its focus from the external to the internal. When a project at work fails, the fragile mind, the mind of hollow ambition, collapses. It wails, "I am a failure, my boss will hate me, my career is over." It has tied its identity to an external outcome. The unbreakable mind, the Stoic mind, observes the same event and thinks, "The project failed, that is an external event. What is in my control? My analysis of what went wrong, my ability to learn from the mistakes, my resolve to communicate the situation clearly and professionally, my decision to begin again but with more wisdom." Do you see the difference? It's the difference between being a victim of circumstance and being a master of your response. One path leads to despair and burnout. The other leads to resilience and growth. This is the core of the bargain. You trade the exhausting, impossible task of controlling the world for the challenging but achievable task of controlling your mind. You give up the need for a specific outcome to occur. You release your white-knuckled grip on how things should be. In return, you receive an incredible gift: freedom. You become free from the emotional turbulence caused by events you cannot influence. You are no longer a puppet whose strings are pulled by market fluctuations, office politics, or the fleeting approval of others. You are the master of your own inner state. Now let's talk about the enemy within. The greatest obstacle to building this inner citadel is not the outside world. It is the voice in your own head, the inner critic, that relentless narrator that replays your every mistake, magnifies your every flaw, and predicts your every failure. This inner critic is the gatekeeper of the old, fragile ambition. It thrives on fear and self-doubt. It's the voice that tells you that if you stop chasing external validation, you will become worthless. It tells you that if you let go of your anxiety, you'll become complacent and lazy. It tells you that this idea of an unbreakable mind is a fantasy, and that you are destined to remain a stressed, anxious wreck. Mental warfare is not about fighting this voice. You cannot defeat your inner critic by arguing with it. Arguing with it gives it power. It legitimizes its claims. When the critic says, "You're a failure," and you retort, "No, I'm not," you have already lost. You have entered its frame. You are playing its game. The Stoic approach is different. It is one of observation and separation. You must learn to see that voice not as you, but as it. It is a programmed pattern of thought, an echo of past pains, fears, and criticisms from others. It is not the truth, it is just noise. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, wrote in his private journals, "The things you think about determine the quality of your mind." He understood that our inner world is not a fixed reality but a space we cultivate. The practice, then, is to become a detached observer of your own thoughts. When the inner critic begins its tirade, you do not engage. You do not fight. You simply notice. You say to yourself, "Ah, there is that pattern of thought again. The voice of fear is speaking." You treat it like a barking dog behind a fence. You acknowledge its presence, but you do not let it dictate your path. You do not go over to the fence and start barking back. You simply continue walking. This practice of detached observation starves the inner critic of its power source, your belief. Over time, as you consistently refuse to fuse with these negative thoughts, they begin to lose their emotional charge. The barking becomes fainter. The voice loses its authority. This is not a quick fix. This is a discipline, a daily practice, like strengthening a muscle. Every time you choose to observe a negative thought instead of becoming it, you are laying another stone in the wall of your inner citadel. You are reinforcing the barrier between the chaos of your automatic thinking and the calm, deliberate consciousness of your true self. This is the work. This is the path to conquering your mind. Let's deepen the bargain. What specifically are you trading away? First, you are trading away the need to be right. The ego, the engine of fragile ambition, has a desperate need to be correct in all situations. It will burn relationships, sacrifice peace, and create endless conflict just to maintain its position of being right. An unbreakable mind understands that being right is a hollow victory. It prioritizes peace and effectiveness over ego. It is willing to be wrong. It is open to changing its mind. It listens more than it speaks. Letting go of the need to be right is trading a boat anchor for a sail. Suddenly, you can move. You can learn. You can connect with others in a genuine way because you are no longer at war with them over trivial points of view. Second, you are trading away the addiction to praise and the fear of criticism. The person of hollow ambition lives for the applause. Their mood for the day can be made or broken by a single compliment or a single insult. This is a terrible form of bondage. The unbreakable mind detaches its self-worth from the opinions of others. It operates on an internal scorecard. It asks, did I act with virtue? Did I do my best? Did I remain true to my principles? If the answer is yes, then the opinions of the world are irrelevant. They are just noise. A compliment is pleasant but not necessary. A criticism is analyzed for any useful information it might contain, and the rest is discarded like chaff. It has no power to wound because the core of the self is not exposed. It is protected, deep within the citadel. This doesn't mean you become a cold, unfeeling robot. It means you become selectively vulnerable. You choose who you let in, but you never give anyone the power to define you. Third, and perhaps most importantly, you are trading away your anxiety about the future. The anxious mind is always living in a future that hasn't happened yet, playing out 1,000 worst-case scenarios. This is the primary activity of the burnt-out professional. Lying awake at 3 a.m., worrying about a meeting next week, a deadline next month, a potential layoff next year. Stoicism offers a powerful antidote, a ruthless focus on the present moment. The future is not in your control. The past is gone. The only point of power you have is right here, right now. Your task is not to solve all the imaginary problems of the next decade. Your task is to do the thing in front of you, right now, with excellence and virtue. Seneca, another great Stoic, said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." He understood that most of what we fear never comes to pass. We are burning our precious life energy, our vitality, our peace, fighting ghosts of our own creation. The bargain is to trade this fantasy of future worry for the solid ground of present action. When you feel the familiar grip of anxiety about what's to come, you stop. You breathe. You bring your attention back to this moment. What is one thing I can do right now that is productive, that aligns with my values? Maybe it's sending a single email. Maybe it's reading a single page of a book. Maybe it's simply taking a few conscious breaths. You break the spell of the future by taking a small, deliberate action in the present. This, practiced over and over, is how you dismantle the architecture of anxiety. So what do you get in return for giving up these things? You get clarity. When your mind is no longer cluttered with the need to be right, the craving for praise, and the fear of the future, a profound silence descends. In this silence, you can finally hear your own true voice. You can understand what you actually want, not what you've been conditioned to want. Your intuition becomes sharper. Your decisions become wiser. You see the chessboard of life with a clarity that is impossible when you are in a state of frantic, emotional reactivity. You also get resilience. The unbreakable mind is not a mind that never feels pain or faces setbacks. It is a mind that cannot be broken by them. When adversity strikes, and it will, you don't collapse. You bend, you adapt, you learn. You see the obstacle not as a barrier but as the way forward. The Stoics had a phrase for this. The obstacle is the way. The problem that is blocking your path is, in fact, a training ground designed to make you stronger, wiser, and more capable. A failed business venture becomes a priceless MBA in what not to do. A painful breakup becomes a masterclass in emotional intelligence and self-worth. A health crisis becomes a powerful lesson in mortality and the value of the present moment. The unbreakable mind transmutes poison into medicine. It uses the very things that would destroy the fragile person as fuel for its own growth. This is the alchemy of the soul. This is dangerous power. Finally, you get presence. You learn to live where life is actually happening, right here. You begin to experience the richness of ordinary moments, the taste of your coffee, the feeling of the sun on your skin, the sound of a genuine conversation. The old ambition forced you to sacrifice the present for a future that never came. The new path allows you to inhabit your life fully. This is not some esoteric, mystical state. It is the natural result of a mind that is no longer at war with itself. It is the peace that comes from making the bargain and honoring its terms. Let's walk through the architecture of this inner citadel. It's built upon three core disciplines which the Stoics practiced relentlessly. These are not abstract ideas. They are active, daily training. The discipline of perception, the discipline of action, and the discipline of will. First, the discipline of perception. This is the gatekeeper of your mind. It's the practice of seeing things for what they are, without the colored lens of your own subjective judgments, fears, and desires. Our burnout, our anxiety, our despair, they are rarely caused by events themselves, but by the story we tell ourselves about those events. Someone gives you critical feedback at work. The event itself is neutral. Words were spoken. The fragile mind immediately creates a story. They think I'm incompetent. I'm going to get fired. I'm a fraud. The emotional reaction is panic and shame. The Stoic practitioner intercepts the event at the gate. They observe. Words of criticism were spoken. They then analyze it objectively. Is there any truth here I can use? Is this person's opinion based on sound logic or their own emotional state? What is the most constructive way to view this? The practice is to insert a pause between an external event and your internal response. In that pause, you have the power to choose your interpretation. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself constantly, choose not to be harmed and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed and you haven't been. This is not denial. This is a conscious refusal to hand over your power, to let an external event dictate your internal peace. You stop being a reactor and become a responder. You train your perception to strip events of their emotional baggage. An angry email is just pixels on a screen. A traffic jam is just a collection of cars. They have no inherent power to disturb you unless you grant it to them through your judgment. Mastering this discipline is like becoming immune to the emotional viruses of the world. Next is the discipline of action. Perception is internal, action is external. An unbreakable mind is not content to simply sit and think peaceful thoughts. It must act in the world, but its action is of a different quality. The action of the fragile, burnt-out person is frantic, desperate, and attached to the outcome. They work hard because they are terrified of failure. Their actions are fueled by fear. The action of the Stoic is calm, deliberate, and principled. They act not because they crave a certain result, but because the action itself is the right thing to do. The focus shifts from the fruit of the action to the action itself. You are a writer. Your job is not to become a bestseller. That is an external, uncontrollable outcome. Your job is to sit down every day and write to the best of your ability. You are a leader. Your job is not to be loved by all your employees. That is an uncontrollable outcome. Your job is to make fair, wise decisions and to treat people with respect. You detach your effort from the outcome. You pour all your energy into the process, into the craft, into acting with excellence and virtue in this present moment. This is a liberating shift. It frees you from the emotional roller coaster of success and failure. If you acted with your best effort and with good character, you have already succeeded, regardless of the outcome. This allows you to take on great challenges without the crippling fear of failure because your definition of success has changed. It is internal, not external. This is how people become unrecognizable. They develop a work ethic that is not dependent on motivation or external rewards. It is a quiet, relentless, internal engine of discipline. They do the work because that is who they are. Finally, we come to the most profound of the three, the discipline of will. This is your final line of defense your fortresses keep. This discipline deals with the things we cannot change, the things that, despite our best perceptions and actions, simply happen to us. Loss, illness, betrayal, tragedy. The discipline of will is the art of acceptance, of embracing reality as it is, not as we wish it to be. The Stoics had a term for this, amor fati, the love of one's fate. This is not a passive resignation. It is an active, powerful embrace of all of life, the good, the bad, the beautiful, the terrifying. It is the understanding that everything that happens, every single event, is an opportunity for you to practice virtue, to display courage, to show kindness, to learn. It is the belief that nothing is truly bad if it can be used as raw material for the development of your character. A chronic illness is not a curse. It is an opportunity to practice patience and to appreciate the small moments of wellness. The loss of a loved one is not just a tragedy. It is an opportunity to practice gratitude for the time you had and to live with more depth and meaning. Amor fati is the ultimate expression of an unbreakable mind. It's a mind that can look at the worst life has to throw at it and say, this too, this is part of my path, this will not break me, this will forge me. It is the trade of your personal preference, your wish for an easy, comfortable life, for an unshakable alignment with reality itself. You stop fighting with life. You learn to dance with it. This is the source of a deep, abiding peace that is not contingent on circumstances. It is a peace that comes from within, from a will that has been tempered in the fires of adversity and has learned to say yes to all of it. So we have dismantled the hollow ambition that leads to burnout. We have laid the foundation for an inner citadel, a fortress of the mind built on the ancient principles of perception, action, and will. We've traded the frantic chase for a calm, powerful presence. We have exchanged the need for external validation for the iron core of internal self-worth. We have bargained away our anxiety about the future for a deep, abiding focus on the present moment. But building this fortress is one thing. Living within it, defending it from the relentless sieges of modern life, that is the next stage of our journey. That is where true mastery is forged. The world will not stop testing you. The culture of frantic, empty ambition will continue to shout at you from every screen. Your old patterns of thought, your inner critic, will attempt to stage a coup. The practice is never over. Being a Stoic, having an unbreakable mind, is not a destination you arrive at. It is a process you live, a battle you choose to fight every single day. Take a moment right now. What is the one frantic obligation, the one piece of external validation you are chasing that brings you the most anxiety? What is that one thing, a promotion, a certain number in your bank account, the approval of a specific person, that you have tethered your peace to? Now, just for a moment in the privacy of your own mind, imagine cutting that rope. What would it feel like truly to just let it go? Not to abandon the effort, but to abandon the desperate attachment to the outcome. What would it feel like to act with excellence for its own sake, and to accept whatever result comes with equanimity? In that feeling, that flicker of lightness and freedom, lies the entire promise of this bargain. This is not an easy path. It requires courage, the courage to be different, the courage to define success on your own terms, the courage to turn inward when the entire world is screaming at you to look outward. It requires you to become a warrior of the mind, a silent guardian of your own inner peace. Most people will not make this trade. They will continue to run on the hamster wheel, chasing ghosts, burning themselves out for rewards that never satisfy. They will live and die as slaves to their own untamed minds and the expectations of others. But you don't have to. The choice to begin this transformation is available to you in every moment. It begins with the next thought you have. When a negative, anxious thought arises, will you fuse with it or will you observe it? It continues with the next action you take. Will you act out of fear and desperation or out of principle and purpose? It is sealed with your response to the next challenge you face. Will you see it as a catastrophe or as an opportunity to become stronger? The person you are today is a result of your past bargains. The life you have is a reflection of the contracts you've made with yourself, consciously or unconsciously. If you are burned out, anxious, and unfulfilled, it is because you have made a poor bargain. You have traded your inner peace for the promise of external rewards. You have traded your soul for a handful of trinkets. But a bargain can be renegotiated. A contract can be broken. A new deal can be struck. The path to becoming unrecognizable is a path of subtraction, not addition. It is not about learning more life hacks or productivity tricks. It is about unlearning the toxic definitions of success, unlearning the habit of self-criticism, unlearning the fear of the future, unlearning the need for the world to conform to your wishes. As you shed these layers of conditioning, what is left is your true self. Calm, centered, powerful, free. This is the ultimate form of self-improvement. It's not about adding a new coat of paint to a crumbling building. It's about tearing the old structure down to its foundations and building something new, something made of stone and iron, something that can withstand the storms of life. You stop trying to control the storm. You become the eye of the storm, the calm center around which the chaos revolves, untouched and unshaken. The bargain is on the table, the brittle crown of hollow ambition or the iron core of an unbreakable mind, the frantic, exhausting life of a ghost chasing validation or the deep, powerful existence of a master of their own inner world. The choice was never anyone else's to make. It has always been yours. It is yours right now in this very moment. You have heard the terms. You understand the trade. The real question isn't if you can make this trade. The question is, what are you waiting for?